everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm out here on my porch today, and next week is Passover and it's on my mind, and I wanted to invite us all to do a Maror exploration together. What exactly is Maror? Well, I had never thought about it before, but last year our friends at Abundance Farm did an online learning with us to dig a little bit deeper into what is our bitter herb and what can a bitter herb be and how does it connect us to our springtime and what's popping up all around us. So I'm inviting you to bring a couple of things to the table. But before that, what is Maror? What do you have on your Seder plate every year as your Maror? I know that for me, it's always been horseradish. And up until I started working at Pearlstone a couple of years ago, I didn't really know what horseradish was. It's actually this cool looking root that looks a little bit like ginger. And it's like big and brown on the outside, and when you cut it open, it's bright green, and it sprouts out these really beautiful green plants. But before then, I didn't really know what it was, and actually, it's a root. So Maror is our bitter herb, and I want us to take a couple of minutes to think about how things taste. So what is bitter, right? Well, in some ways it's in contrast to what's sweet. So I have a nice apple here. What do you have in your fridge or on your counter that comes to mind as sweet? I thought apple and chocolate. These are two things that are sweet, and I invite you to take a bite of something that's sweet and hold it in your mouth for a second. What does sweetness taste like? How does it feel in your mouth? Great. Now, I want us to take a minute to taste things that are bitter. So I have in my kitchen right now a few things that I found that I think are maybe bitter in taste. When I first eat them, they don't taste sweet. They might taste a little bit salty or bitter. So I'm gonna take this cabbage. It tastes leafy, not so bitter. Okay, so maybe that's not bitter. The other things that I brought were a bag of spinach. I take a bite of my spinach. And when I taste it, at first it gives me a little like cringe in my mouth. I don't think it tastes that sweet. Sometimes in the winter, spinach tastes sweet. What do you think? Is spinach sweet or is it bitter? The other thing I have is a box of lettuce. And it's got several different kinds of lettuces in it. It's got some purple lettuces, and it's got some green lettuces. And when I taste it, it has that bite. So what's happening all around us right now is that you probably see little green plants popping up, right? The first leaves. And in Nisan, that's what's happening. We're watching all around us as spring blooms and plants send up their first shoots, right? But this isn't the time for fruits yet, right? This is the time for lettuces. And those first leaves that come out of the ground are not always the sweetest. Sometimes they're bitter. And they remind us of what breaking out of our shells and coming up through the earth and entering back into the world sort of feels like in our bodies. So while Maror connects us both to the story of Passover, it also connects us to what's happening in nature all around us. And the rabbis have a lot to say about this. They actually tell us exactly what Maror is, or what they think it is, right? Because rabbis are always debating about stuff. So the rabbis originally said a long time ago, they were like, Maror could be one of these 4 different types of vegetables, and there are words in Aramaic, a super fun old language that no one speaks anymore, several different types of things that could be maror, that could be the bitter herb. And then no one remembered what those things were. So the rabbis have this whole debate in the Gemara about what actually is a bitter herb. And what they decide on is that a bitter herb is gotta be green and leafy, and you can eat the leaves or the stem, but you can't eat the root of the maror, only the leaves or the stems. And they also have a bit of a debate about pickled vegetables, if those can be considered maror. But essentially, does horseradish actually fall into either of those categories? It's definitely green, but it's not a leaf or a stem because you're actually eating the root of the maror. So why do we think that people ate horseradish? The story that I've heard is that in Eastern Europe, when there weren't little leafy greens popping up around in people's backyards, those like bitter wild vegetables that people eat sometimes, that what they had was horseradish. And that anywhere we are, we can use things that are new, that are green, that are bitter, that remind us of where we are here, our place, that connect us to this land, to this ecosystem, to this family, and remind us of spring. So I invite everyone to go on an exploration in their kitchens, on an exploration through plants that they're already growing, and find some things that you think are bitter or sour on that sort of taste spectrum. And invite in new maror into your household this year. Or ask the questions and tell the stories of where your maror came from in your family and why you eat it that way. Because maybe there's a cool family history behind that. Thanks, everyone.